All right, the first thing we're going to do is we're going to set our layout size to the same size as our window. So this is 854 by 480. We've done that on most games. The next thing we're going to do is we're going to insert a sprite. And this is going to be our heart. You can pick any heart you want. This is the heart that I use, heart 2. We'll close that. So we're just going to go ahead and set that right about there on the screen. Then what we're going to do is we're going to create a button to click. So let's create a button. And that's right here. I'm just going to put it right here. I'm going to change the text so it says click here. And then what I'm going to do is I'm going to create a couple labels. And we're going to put one here. And this is going to be our level. So this is going to say level 1. And then I'm going to put another one here, and this is going to be our score. So I'm going to set that to 0. Now I'm also going to change the size of the font and adjust this. So I'm going to set the color to red. I'm going to set the horizontal alignment to right so that it's right aligned. And then I'm going to change the font size, and you can change yours to whatever you'd like. I'm going to use 22. Then I'm actually going to do this one as well. I'm going to change this to 22. And then I'm also going to set this to red. And if your text disappears, it's just because your window's too small. So let's go ahead and set this to red. Okay? So that's the first step. So now we're going to name each of these objects so that we can find them. We're going to use these same objects on multiple levels, so it's important that we know what they're called. Let's call this one here level. Let's call this click here. Let's call this our score. And then let's call this our heart. Now we're going to have a few other hearts, but we're going to call this one heart. Now let's go ahead and create some events. The first event we're going to create is we're going to rotate the heart when the button is clicked. So add event, click here on clicked, and then we're going to say heart, rotate clockwise. And we're going to say 45. Now we're going to add a second event, a sub-event, so that when it gets all the way around one cycle, we can keep track of it. First thing we need to do is we need to create a global variable, and we're going to call this score, and we're going to keep track of every time the heart goes around. So we're going to right-click on this little green arrow. It's important that you use the green arrow. And we're going to say add sub-event, and the sub-event is going to say when heart is within angle, and it's fine to leave it at 0.5, and then the angle is 0. Remember, 0 is horizontal. It's going to be where it starts out. So when it's clicked, if the heart is at 0, we're going to add 1 to the score. So the action is going to be the global variable add 2, and we only have 1 right now. We're going to have more in a minute. We're going to add 1 to it. So now each time it goes all the way around once, it's going to add 1 to the score. Let's go ahead and test this and see if it works. We won't see a score just yet. We'll see just the heart rotating. And there you have it. Excellent. Now let's go ahead and update the score as it rotates each time. So to do that, we're going to set up a every ticks. And remember, every tick is just something that happens constantly throughout the game and allows us to go ahead and update things. So we're going to go ahead and say score. This is the text score. We're going to do set text, and we're going to set it equal to our variable score. And you'll see there's two objects called score. This one is the text. This one is the global variable. You can tell because it's got a T, and here it's a little global sign. It matches up the global variable. So we're going to use that one. And now each time it ticks, we're going to update the score. So let's take a look. So each time it rotates once, we should see 1 added. There we go. 2, 3, and so on. Okay? So now we're going to have our heart slowly fall down. Now, there's a lot of different ways to do this. The easiest way is to just change that y-axis. Remember, the x goes left and right, the y goes up and down. So what we're going to do is we're going to say system every x seconds, and we're going to use half of a second, so 0.5. We're going to set the heart's y value, and we're going to take the current heart y value, so whatever that value is, and we're going to add 10 to it. And the reason we add 10 is because at the top it's 0, and so every half a second we want to add 10 to it, and 10 pixels, so it's going to slowly go down. We're going to click done. Now let's test that and we'll see if it falls. Okay, there you have it. It's falling. Now we can rotate it. Now we'll have to be quick in order to get 10 in before it gets to the very bottom. Okay, now we're just going to polish the game. We're going to add the win and the lose on it, and we're going to put a message as well. So the first thing we're going to do is let's add another sprite, and we're going to load this next level sprite. And this will be the button that it allows you to go to the next level. Now let's go ahead and create another sprite, and this one will be our try again sprite. So if you don't get to 10 before the heart gets to the bottom, you're going to have to try it again. Whoops, I used the wrong image. Try again. All right. And then we're going to add one more, and that's going to be a text, and this is going to be our instructions, and this is going to explain to the user what they need to do. So let's go ahead and set a couple of the properties up. Let's go ahead and name this instructions. Let's name this next level. And then let's name this try again. Now we want to set this to invisible because we don't want that to show up until the heart has fallen. And then we don't want this to show up either, so let's set that to invisible. And then this right here is going to be our message text. And what we're going to set here is the actual message saying what the instructions are. Rotate the heart 10 times before it falls. All right. Now we can go ahead and adjust this a little bit if we want to, and we'll put this right in the middle. We can go ahead and say center, and we can make the font just a little bit bigger. Let's make it 18. All right. Now this message we want to appear just at the very beginning of the game. So let's go ahead and add a behavior. Let's add fade. And then we want to change the fade to 3 seconds so that they have time to read it. So when the game first starts, this will show up for 3 seconds and then it will fade away. All right, so that's what we need to do here on the event sheet. All right, now let's put the events in to control when the heart gets rotated 10 times or if it falls all the way to the bottom. So the first thing we're going to do is we're going to say system compare variable. And we only have one variable, our score. So let's say if it's greater than or equal to 10. Now you could use a bigger or a smaller number, but that's the number of times they have to rotate it before it gets to the very, very bottom. And then what we're going to do for an action is we're going to set our next level text to visible. So we'll say set visible so that they can click the button. And then I'm also going to destroy the heart just so that it's not on the screen anymore. You could leave it if you'd like, but I'm going to destroy it. The second thing that we're going to do is so this is going to be our win condition. You've now won. The second event we're going to create is that you lose. The heart gets all the way to the bottom before it's rotated 10 times. So to do that, what we're going to use is we're going to say heart, and we're going to say compare y. Remember, the y is the one that goes up and down. And when it gets to the very, very bottom of the screen, we want to say you lose. So if we say if it's greater than or equal to, in the bottom of the screen, if you remember from our width and height, is 480. So let's go ahead and use a slightly smaller number. Let's say 450, so it gets not quite to the bottom. So if it's greater than 450, and the action here is going to be similar, except we're going to say try again, set visible, and we're also going to destroy the heart. Just so that it's not on the screen. Okay. So now let's go ahead and test this and see if that works. All right, so the final thing to do is to just allow the user to restart or go to the next layout. Now we haven't created our next layout yet, but that's okay. We'll go ahead and do that here on the next section. So the first thing we're going to do is let's set, we need to add the mouse because we didn't add the mouse earlier. So let's do insert object, mouse. And now here we can say mouse clicked object. And then you can leave it the left mouse. And we're going to say next level. And this is going to take us to the next level. So we'll use system, go to next previous layout, and we want to go to the next layout. And then the second one, and this is if the heart gets all the way to the bottom and they have to try again, we're going to say mouse clicked object, and this object is going to be the try again. And what we're going to do this time is we're just going to restart the layout. So there's a restart layout right here. All right. So there you have it. And we don't have the next level yet, so I'm not going to test that one. I'm going to test the one that restarts the layout right here. So we'll wait for the heart to fall all the way to the bottom. And then as soon as the button shows, we'll go ahead and click that and make sure that it restarts at the top. Perfect. So we'll click it, and now it restarts again, and we can rotate it. Excellent. All right, so the very, very final thing that we're going to do on this one is we're going to add a background. This looks okay, but it looks much better if we have a nice background. So let's go ahead and insert an object. We're just going to use sprite. We're not going to use the tiled background because it's just one large image. And let's go ahead and use this one that's labeled background level number 1. All right, so we'll close that. Now, this is big enough so it'll fit right over the entire layout. Now, keep in mind it's now on the top because it was the last thing that we add. If you right-click and say Z order, send to bottom, it'll now go all the way to the bottom. And that's all there is to setting up level 1.